That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Brother, you can sit right here. Those are the traditions that was done in the park. Some say coming out of New York, but wherever it came from, it was beautiful. Hip hop is many things to many people, but hip hop is something special to me. Some want to attend it for wrong, but we're going to use it for good. Hip hop, DJing, there's the camera right there. Hip hop, DJing, we cool, we cool. We got other angles.
Okay, all angles.
Hold on, let me get on this side. Here we go. Hey, Wask, how I'm gonna get you in here, brother? Is it all right, or we good? All right. I don't want to put down on disrespect nobody's headphones. Let me know when you're ready. Oh, it's already? Oh, welcome back to Detroit Electronic Music Conference. Thank you for coming back. We just had a phenomenal question and answer duo turntable set with DJ Z-Light and DJ Invincible. Like I was saying, hip hop DJing is experienced from the 80s, 70s, 80s, all the way up until the new technology came out, which really changed the game in DJing. A lot of people got into the DJing world because a lot of it made it easier as far as carrying records, the complexity of what you can do with a mixer now versus the mixers that we came up with, the Radio Shack mixer. Realistics, you understand? But those were dependable.
Yeah, it worked.
It worked. It worked. But now there has been multi-million-dollar companies that have built brands off of traditions that we did in the hood. Now there was other DJs, doing their thing, but when we got it, our community, it just went to another level.
Yes.
You understand? And our talk today is going to be about DJing, music production, the education of it. As you can see, one of the students is phenomenal, and she's just starting out. She's 17 years old, and where she'll be in 10 years with her career. You understand? So, looking at how this could be a stepping stone from an educational standpoint by giving young DJs and young producers skill sets where they can actually do for themselves, in which your DJing have taken you to different venues. You played from small audiences to thousands of people being in an arena. And now you have been selected to be an ambassador for the State Department, going back and forth across the world, teaching the art of DJing, showcasing your skill set, and raising up the next crop of DJs. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, brother.
Okay, so my name is DJ Invisible. I've been scratching records for 30 years right now, and hey, I usually joke that my DJ career is sponsored by Just for Men hair dye, because the worst thing is when you're in the DJ booth or you're on stage and somebody's like, "Excuse me, sir," and you feel like the old guy in the room when you're up there rocking the crowd. And I'm still having fun. I'm still enjoying it. So I toured with the rapper Exhibit for years and years until he's kind of like pivoting to do more movies or whatever. But when he started doing movies and that, I had to figure out what my next move was going to be as far as my DJ career. I'd invested a lot of time in being the guy behind the rapper. So I was asked to join a tour group that was going to Madagascar and Pakistan with a female MC named Mahogany Jones. Okay. She's based out of New York now. But Mahogany had asked me to go on this trip with her, and come to find out, they started telling me what the trip was, and we were going to be music and culture ambassadors for the State Department. So I thought that I was just rolling along as a hired gun, but come to find out, I was in the program. They had vetted me. They knew my background in music. They knew all my accomplishments, and they asked me to keep going with the program. So since 2015, I've been a United States Music and Culture Ambassador to the State Department. So it sounds ridiculous. It sounds silly to say, kid from Detroit, went to King High School, went to Eastern Michigan, got turntables right after he graduated, and started spinning records in the dorm room. Now I travel the world as doing citizen diplomacy. And it's the coolest feeling in the world. Yep.
And by being from Detroit, and wherever Detroit lands, everybody welcomes them with big open arms. And for you to go from practicing dorm room, now seeing the world with this, that is a door that we want to open for other youth, because a lot of youth in Detroit don't get out of Detroit.
No.
A lot of youth in Detroit, if you're on the east side, you're on the east side. If you're in the north end, you're on the north end. If you're on the northwest or west side, those are your localities. But, I was blessed when I was in the military. I spent 2.5 years in Germany, so it broadened my perspective. And then it also broadened my perspective of how much other countries and other places love Detroit, and we don't give the same love to ourselves, but when you go to these other countries, the type of love that you get.
Yeah. So I tell people that you got to travel. So every kid, as soon as they graduate from high school, go travel, see the world. Music is something that everybody loves. I met one person on an airplane, and he asked me what I did, because I was the black guy on the airplane headed to a Scandinavian country, and he was astonished that I was traveling as I'm 6'3". He thought I was a basketball player. That made sense to him. Right. But when I told him I was a DJ, it didn't make sense to him. And I'm like, what kind of music do you like? And he's like, I don't like music. So I have met one person that doesn't like music, but he must have been a vampire or some strange guy. But anyway, you got to travel and see the world, because you'll notice that this thing that we love called music, you can talk to somebody musically without speaking the same language. Exactly. When I'm teaching DJs in Asia, we don't have to speak the same language. I can show him or her, this is how you rub, this is how you cut, this is how you dice, this is how you mix. And we're pushing buttons, and then by the end of it, we're speaking a DJ language. Right. And it's a dope thing when you can run through production software. I can teach somebody this mixer. I can teach somebody this Rain 12 without speaking the same language. It's amazing. It feels good. And then, your whole life you read books, and you go to school, and you go K through 12 or whatever, and you see all these pictures of these beautiful buildings and this architecture, and then to see it in real life just opens your mind up. Like, oh, this Eiffel Tower is really a real thing. Yes. This Colosseum in Rome is a real thing. Yes. Oh, that's the door of no return. This is Gorey Island. Stuff like that is amazing. Yes. And then to experience food from other places, yes. It really broadens your horizons, opens your mind. And when you come back home, you really appreciate home a lot more. Like, I've been all over the world, and I just got back from 3 weeks in India. I was in Thailand, in Krabi, Thailand, for a few days. And then I went to Nigeria for 10 days. Okay. And when I came home, I was like guy that was ready to kiss the concrete. You carry Detroit with you, being a Detroiter. You carry your country with you. And it just feels good to come home after seeing the world.
And you said that word appreciation. You have a different appreciation for poverty in other countries versus poverty here. Also, how far ahead other countries may be versus to United States. When I stayed in Germany, I went to a club in Frankfurt. It was the Dorian Gray. Okay. The Dorian Gray was in the airport. That was one of the most phenomenal clubs I ever been into Europe. I haven't seen one like it here yet in Detroit, but just for that experience. And then tasting the food, talking with people, learning different languages. You're immersed in culture. And the translating part of it, we all have the appreciation for music. If you go to Japan, they love hip-hop. If you go to Europe, they love hip-hop. Or like Amapiano. Amapiano is that new genre of music that's coming out of South Africa. But you have to then think, okay, South Africa, what comes with South Africa? What's the historical or the cultural context that's associated with the music?
I don't know. So you do find out that because of the internet has opened things up big time as far as the music. And as an American DJ, I used to get hired to be an American DJ. It looked good on a flyer for a European club or an Asian club or African club to put on the flyer, DJ from Detroit coming over, because I had music that they could not get.
Right.
I could go record diving, across the U.S. and go over there and blow them away because I had songs that they couldn't get. I had those B-sides or I had those test pressings. Now that everybody has access to the same music, you have to step your game up as an American DJ because the bar is high now.
Oh, yes.
The bar is like, you can't just come over here and play music that you don't think we've heard before. You got to come over here and work out. This music game as a DJ is a very competitive art. We're all cool and we're all friends, but I was up here watching Zoe spin like, thank goodness I don't have to go behind her.
Right.
And that's the little sister. That's family. And I don't know if you saw me. I was over there. I had to step back for a second. Glasses have a little tint in them, which is actually good. I was getting ready to tear up. It was just beautiful seeing her come from where she started, which was actually on Technique Turntables. Right. She started out on them 12s, which was cool to see her actually working out with her left hand and then dragging the platter. Yeah. That felt good. But this competitive art of disc jockeying, DJing, and turntablism is worldwide now. Yes. And it's crazy that it's transcended just us thinking that we are American and we're the greatest of all times doing it. Everybody around the world is doing this. The only thing that's different is here you can walk into Guitar Center, you can walk into Best Buy and walk out with a controller and then start your career. Other countries, they have to work a lot harder to get to where they are actually able to call themselves a DJ. Right. They don't have the ability to go get the same gear. This is, thousands of dollars worth of gear, and she's working out on it. You may go to, when I was in Nigeria, the guy was working out on a 12-year-old controller. Half the buttons were missing. And when I was sitting back watching him, you couldn't tell. But he was really killing it with what he had. He was making that work, which is it kind of made me feel good watching that because that's what we used to do back in the day. Yeah, you had pennies and dimes taped to your needles to get them to stick when they started to wear out. Your records, when they were worn, you were trying to put little pieces of tape in that hole to tighten it up so that you could mix and cut and so that your needles wouldn't jump. Your mixer, you had all kinds of nonsense going on with your mix. When your crossfaders would go bad, you were spraying TV cleaner, control knob cleaner in there, trying to clean up your faders. So there were so many shortcuts that we had to make, and you had to overcome adversity because when you're up on stage playing your set, the crowd don't care that your needle is worn out. The crowd don't care your crossfader is bleeding. When your crossfader would blow out in the middle of a gig, you had to go to your vertical faders. Right. You had to figure it out because the crowd didn't care what your problems were. They came to party. So that was I don't actually remember the original question. Sitting up here. Right, sitting up here behind the turntables, my mind is going in so many different directions. It just feels good to talk to somebody about DJing and about turntables.
And with that experience, working with what they have access to, working with what you got. A lot of DJs now can go on Amazon or wherever they get their gear from and come out with all this beautiful gear. But like you were saying, back in the day, I didn't have the Technique 1200s. I had the belt drives. So that's a totally different dynamic. That you
got to be able to mix.
Right.
Yeah, you learn quick to mix.
Well, I'm doing break beats, hip hop, hop, get into something else. That's it. No mixing because I didn't understand the fundamentals, and that's why I really started Spin Inc. to give children access. Ableton, thank you, Ableton. They donated 17 push pads for the children so they can have access. Native Instruments, thank you, Native Instruments, have donated massive equipment for our children to have access. And it don't have to be the brand new equipment because if it's in front of them, it's brand new.
Right.
You understand? Pioneer have donated some equipment some years back. But we need access. But one thing about Detroit is resilient. They'll figure out a way how to do it.
Make it work.
They'll make it work. Yeah. And just like when you go to these countries, yes.
I want to say something that we need to understand when it comes to the genre of Okay? So even when they have the new technology, they don't have our genre of music, right? So they're always playing catch up with us. So whenever we come out, they're always behind. That's why our latest can go over there and be 10 years gone and still be a star over there. Right? You know, so when we think, we have to always think that we are progressive. We are always progressive, and they're always catching up.
Case in point. Case in point. J. Rue the Damager. He left the United States and went to Europe, and is still reliving the '90s golden era of hip hop.
So we've always joked about that. So once you have ever done anything musically and been successful at it, you live forever overseas. There's a different appreciation for it. So stateside is kind of what have you done lately? We had a show, now this is a few years back, but we had a show in Amsterdam. And we're at the hotel and we're in the lobby and there's a bunch of, it's a tour, so there's a bunch of musicians, we're hanging around and what are you getting ready to do tonight? Oh man, did you hear? There's a big concert going on at the venue we're playing at tomorrow. And we're all excited thinking, who's getting ready to play? And they said, Terrence Trent D'Arby is getting ready to play. And we're all like, what? Stop it. The Wishing Well guy? The Wishing Well guy. Terrence Trent D'Arby sold out the place. And we were like, I haven't heard that name. And I'm a DJ. And then the Wishing Well was a great, he had other songs. But stateside, you haven't heard of this dude. Over there, he's still selling out venues. So once you've done it here, you kind of live forever there, which, kind of stinks for us as Americans to say that our attention span for music is not that far or not that long. But but one thing the internet is doing is the internet is closing that gap. You said that 10-year gap. They're catching up. They're catching up with the music that they have as disc jockeys, the performance side of it, which is we will have that advantage.
Think about Adele. Think about Bruno Mars. Think about those that have come and how late they are. And think about where we are. And think about where they need to get.
Well, now I'm cool with having the advantage. I did say this is competitive. I am okay with having that advantage as long as possible because a lot of our music is changing with who's playing it, and this is a very sensitive subject when you start talking about hip hop is started out in the hood. Right. It was a hood sport. It was everybody black was doing it, and then just like rock and roll, it blew up and became pop music. So hip hop right now is pop music. Dance music is pop music. You hear in a whole lot of the popular top 40 songs internationally, you hear elements of like house and EDM and Detroit kind of techno is being infused into all of this music, and it's becoming popular music. And the people that are playing it are becoming a lot more diverse. So we have to stay on the cutting edge of innovation to stay in the game, come up with something else. That's why I think it's cool that all the different subgenres of music are coming out. Right. It allows people that, if you don't necessarily see something on TV that you like, people are creating their own genres of music. They're creating their own subgenres that are pushing all of these musical forms ahead, which is awesome.
So, getting to the last portion, what do you think about education and continuing programs where you're teaching all over the world? Right here in Detroit, how do you feel about programs being integrated into the schools that lack music programs to have programs such as this or others that's in the city to teach them DJing, music production, using the software that we've been supplied with or sponsored with, melodics, teach them finger drumming? Because I saw Zoe finger drumming.
Right.
She's getting down. Now she's taking it to a whole different level in her performance. What do you think?
Now, music has always been one of the things that needs to be in the schools. Some kids don't connect with their math teacher. They gotta have math. They gotta have the basics. But sometimes you need music to get kids' interest, and everybody doesn't want to play the horn.
Right.
You know, the horn is not a sexy instrument to everybody. Right. You know, everybody's not trying to play the piano. Kids right now are seeing hip hop. They're seeing dance music. They're seeing electronic music. And if that was put in the schools, that may generate or stimulate some kid to want to come to school and excel in that. And the one of the basics that I teach at the very beginning is counting to 4. Math is so involved in all of this stuff that we're doing, and we don't even think about it because we've been doing it for so long. Yes. You know, it is a way to help teach the kids, you know, fractions and
exactly.
Right, and you do it quick.
Whole knows, half knows.
Right, it happens.
30 seconds, yes.
And you can say that blindfolded, you know, while drinking a glass of water like a ventriloquist.
How many notes?
But exactly, you know, stuff like that is helpful to kids because then they can take that music class with this electronic music and these amazing pieces of equipment and toys that we have, and then they can go to math class and blow that math teacher away. Exactly. Because the math teacher is not able to connect with them the same way. So I think music education is important, but electronic music education should definitely be implemented. And that was actually the first time that I met Zoe. Okay. I was at a school, and her mom was teaching Japanese to a group of students, and she asked me to come in and do a demonstration and play some J-pop and K-pop music. And then Zoe got interested, and I taught her how to, you know, just do some basic rubs. Mm-hmm. So music is a way to connect with kids that it's always been there. There's always been a music class, but having electronic music, I think principals and educators and faculty and administrators should definitely do. And I applaud you for putting so much work into getting kids the ability to touch this gear. You know, DJ Jungle. Yes, DJ Jungle. I mean, when I first heard the funny story, the building that you're in right now, I used to live on the 3rd floor, straight out of college, when this was the Zimco Textiles building. Yep. And I went on tour, came back, and the building had been sandblasted, and the whole neighborhood had been turned into a bustling community. And and then you told me that you were doing the school here. I was like, you know, it's meant to be. Yeah, this is one of those things that's meant to be. You work really hard putting a platform together so that kids can get to touch this gear and expand their minds and make the music that they're listening to. You know, and it's also a vehicle for them to see the world.
Yes, it is, and you know, thank you for that, man.
No, man, that's real. That's what you're doing.
I really appreciate that because I want children to have access because I lost a lot of friends in the 80s and the 90s that's not here, and they closed a lot of the community centers over the years, which left our children out there. And because they didn't have access and a lot of these pieces of equipment cost so much money, I did some investigation with Arduinos. Arduinos are small, bare-bone computers. So I went to a conference and met some people, and I did some research. And I used conductive ink where I actually made a MIDI controller out of wood. Wow. And it's using Arduinos. And this is what we want to teach the children, that if you can't afford it, here in Detroit, we'll make it. We'll figure out a way. And I want to show children, you just don't have to rely upon, if you don't have the money, do things to work towards getting it. And be creative enough to step outside the box and say, you know what, I can create it. Mm-hmm. You know.
Well, that's another big thing. I'm glad you brought that up. It's a good point for DJs to invest in themselves. Yes. If you are calling yourself a DJ and this is what you want to do and this is your career, you have got to invest in yourself. I'm happy that I'm looking at Zoe's equipment right here. Now, mind you, Zoe works hard, and she has a mom who is supportive. Her dad is supportive. Her little brother helps her carry stuff around. That's a family. That's an awesome family unit right there. But she started out with a small controller, and she started getting some small gigs. And instead of taking that money and going and buying some Jordans, she was calling me, what should I get next? And I'm like, hold on to it, save it, keep, save it. And I would show her what I was working with. Now I walked up here and she's got a brand new Pioneer S11. And I'm like, I will be at Guitar Center tomorrow. I need to, this is, Right. I got now the teacher has got to catch up with the student. So I'm looking like, wow, this is
This is about $5,000 equipment.
oh man, this is the rig. This is the Rain 12s. I love them. I don't have to balance tone arms when I'm traveling, but I appreciate the fact that she is investing in her own career. That's how you get ahead. When you show up to a DJ gig, now I won't throw any names out there, but I know some DJs that are professional DJs that don't own their own turntables. I don't understand that. No. That doesn't make any sense. When you show up to a gig and you have gear that looks good and your gear is clean and you've wiped off your turntables, and the person that hires you looks at that and they say, oh, okay.
I know why you charge me.
Right. It makes sense.
It makes sense.
Right. If I'm showing up and I got a 3 different kinds of something or other and it's beat up and it's, bad stuff and it sounds bad, I'm upset as a promoter now. I'm upset as a person that hired you. But if your gear looks good and sounds good, then it makes sense. You can charge more the next time. You can charge what you're worth. And then especially when you get up here and work out like she just worked out. I mean, come on now. That is she did her thing.
And that's another good point. Talk about the worth and the value of a DJ when it comes to a venue being paid or accommodated correctly. Mm-hmm. And there has been some talk on Facebook about DJs undercutting other DJs and making the prices or the value go down on DJing.
Okay, so that's not a new story. Like I said, this is a very competitive sport. And it's just like any other thing in the world of business. There's always going to be some other product that is a little bit cheaper. Somebody's going to come in a little bit cheaper. But promoters are going to start seeing that. And they do. And I tell people all the time, if your price is $1,000 and the promoter calls you and says, I got this dude that's going to do it for $50, I always tell them, hire that dude. And when that dude destroys your party and everybody is unhappy, call me back. And then my price is $1,050. Exactly. And I've gotten that call. Invisible, you're right. You're right. I shouldn't have hired that guy. I should have negotiated with you a little bit more, but I got what I paid for. And then the other thing is this is such a competitive game now that everybody can walk into Guitar Center and you can walk out with a $100 controller and get a Facebook page and an Instagram page and call yourself a DJ. Right. But because the world is so competitive, you can have the same songs as me and it becomes a confidence game. I am so confident in my skills as a DJ that the DJ coming on before me can look at my Serato crate, play every last song, and I will walk on and not be fazed. I will play the exact same songs in the same order and burn you off the turntables, and you will forget that you are a DJ and retire the next day. Right. That's the confidence that you got to have as a DJ. Yeah. So, and it's a confidence thing and it's a worth thing. I want the promoter to know that they got what they were paying for when they hired DJ Invisible. That's why I was getting ready to cry when Zoe was up here doing her thing. I was like, not worried at all. That I don't want to go behind her, which feels good. As the person that was the first person to put her behind turntables, she came up here and the turntables are still warm right now. Right. When you got a piece of wax that has melted itself to the platter, that's when you know you've done your thing, right? So being confident as a DJ is very helpful in our career, and that helps you to demand what you're worth as a DJ. So as DJs undercutting each other, when you're first starting out, you kind of got to figure out what the region is charging, right? If you're regional, you got to figure out what the region is charging, and whether it's $400, $500, $600, you place yourself in there until you get cool with the promoter, and the promoter understands, oh, okay, this guy is legit, this girl is legit, this person is a real DJ and worth this money, and you stay in that range for a little while until you get your feet firmly planted in that region. Then you start to charge a little bit more because you clearly pack a dance floor, you do your thing. When the promoters hire you, they start putting your name a little bit higher on that billing, and they're comfortable paying you that money. So you can't worry about DJs undercutting you with cheap prices. That's just like if the promoter goes out and buys himself a Geo, spec or whatever, that's what they're gonna get. But if you're a Cadillac, you gotta show up. You gotta Cadillac yourself on them turntables.
That's exactly right. Brother, it's really been a pleasure talking with you, brother. Detroit Electronic Music Conference 2022.
I like to talk, so I will talk and hear myself talk for a long time. So, right.
We're going to conclude.
You don't mind?
Say again?
I wanted to say something.
Yes.
I'm just so glad to be here with DJ Alexander Eubanks. I'm one of his artists. I'm a house and techno artist. And when I was 13, I was in the Detroit Summer Youth Program as a vocalist with Nikki Brady. So I'm so glad that you guys are keeping the youth inspired and that you have taught Zoe how to DJ. It's in her.
It is.
Yes.
Yes.
You can tell it when it's in them because they love to do it.
Yes.
And we have to go out and reach other youth that don't have music in school and performing arts around the world for other youth. You know, there's a lot of money everywhere in the country, around the world. You know, and if people want to say, okay, well, we really care about the youth. Okay, well, let's see. You know,
Right.
the kids need some new, equipment.
Thank you. I hope y'all heard that in Mixcloud. Support programs like this to continue programs like this. Go to Spin Inc. Detroit. Look at the website. Like, share on Facebook, DMAC US. We're about to go into the closing. I'd like to thank everybody that stayed with us for the past 4 days. We're going to party tonight. We got DJ Mike Clark coming. We have Agent X. We have Ama Detroit, Brother Haru, DJ Jungle 313. We got DJ Isis that's going to play, and we got some other people that's going to play. We got DJ Wask that's going to do his feature tonight. He's doing his release. And DJ Wask, this brother has been with us since 2015. He's from Chile, Santiago. Him and his wife has been here supporting the tech. We really appreciate that brother. He brings another aspect to spinning and the DMAC because that is our South American brothers and sisters down there DJing, producing their music. And we really want to create that cultural exchange between countries. So we have to support programs like this. These programs are put in place to keep our children safe, to give them a skill set that will help them in their lives, and get them out the ghetto, get them out the hood, let them see something totally different, expand their minds to expand their lifespan. So thank you. Once again, Detroit Electronic Music Conference. Thank you to all my board members. Thank you to Dime. Thank you to Native Instruments, Serato, Ableton, Melodic, Splice, Peace Sarah, everyone that was involved, anyone I have not mentioned, I apologize. We thank you. Detroit Electronic Music Conference 2022. See you next year. Check out Facebook to see upcoming events. Support spinincdetroit.com. Go to the website, like, share. Thank you very much. Once again, Detroit Electronic Music Conference 2022. Peace. Now it's time to party now.